everyone? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I have been so wanting to talk to her for so long. I just love everything about her constitution, her energy, her vibes. She's a fellow D9 member.
Yes.
Shout out to all the Zetas out there.
Hey!
I am a Kappa, and so
Okay.
I just love all that she does and how she represents her sorority so well.
Thank you.
As they say, there's no one finer
That's
than
right.
Sheryl Underwood.
That's
What's happening?
right. What's happening? Wait a minute. Will I see you in Phoenix? Are you
Yes.
coming?
Yeah, I
Okay,
am.
so
Yeah,
you're coming.
yeah, I am
Are you
coming.
doing panels for a Kappa for the convention?
We're in conversation. Yeah.
I think now more than ever,
Yeah.
we're going to have a conversation and we're going to have to really come together and get back into the community deeper. Because if we don't, we will keep revisiting what occurred. We could have won. We should have won. And there's a lot of information of so-and-so did this with the computers and all of that. But you can have all the computer shenanigans and Russian shenanigans you want, but you'll never be able to beat the people when the people are united. But we have to give them a reason and not let them be affected by distraction. So you going to the Kappa convention, and we will be in Phoenix on, I think, Sunday. I don't know if your convention will be over by then at the comedy club there. And I will also be at the Sigma Conclave and the Zeta Leadership Conference. So I'm still very active, functioning.
Is your term bachelor's over?
I was the 23rd. I call myself the Jordan of grants because, Michael Jordan number was 23.
Yes.
I'm 23rd international president.
Okay.
And so there have been two presidents since then.
Okay.
But it was a great experience because really we're leading civil rights organizations. We may be Black Greek letter scholarly organizations, but as we say in Zeta, we're community conscious, action-oriented organizations, but we're really civil rights organizations. When you're talking about the big things that occurred, the March on Washington was supposed to be in 1941, and our frat brother, Phi Beta Sigma, A. Philip Randolph, were trying to put together in 41, but it's actually executed in 63. But that was the Greeks joining together as well because the Black middle class was coming together, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, Greek letter organizations have a role to play. Kamala Harris is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She is our sister in Greekdom, and I believe that we need to have a discussion. This is only my opinion. We need to have a discussion on what restricts us from doing what we really need to do.
So I want to be clear. I never heard that term. The D9 organizations are a civil rights organization.
I agree. I think we are.
And as you just said that, I would not disagree with you.
Right.
I can't find a reason to disagree with that because of with all of our founders and the constitutions are really what we were founded for.
Yes.
Right. At the end, it was. There is also a misconception that every Greek letter organization started at HBCU.
Right,
That's
they
just
did
not
not.
the case too.
That's
As well,
right.
in particular with Kappas, we were founded at a PWI, and so I think about what I can't speak for everybody, but I think about particularly with the Kappas, the founders are thinking of at Indiana University, right, being in this all-white institution in Indiana back then, right. Bringing together the community to really end brotherhood, but also to end service.
That's right.
And so as you stated that, like in the early 1900s, for those who may not be familiar, which most of the Greek letter organizations were founded, this was pre-civil rights era.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And a lot of our civil rights leaders were all members
That's right.
of a D9 organization.
Absolutely.
One way or another.
Absolutely. And gathering us together and using a parliamentary procedure to effectuate things. When we, I was SAG after, right? And there was a meeting and they were talking about what they were going to do about, I think it was Comedy Central at that time. I can't remember because I wasn't in that meeting, but it was a discussion about comedy. And then somebody said, well, what about BET? And so they put together another committee. And it focused on BET. And so those of us in Greek letter organizations, we formulated ourselves and we said we're going to use Robert's Rules of Order to advance this. And we understand that we're part of a union, but we also knew parliamentary procedure, we knew organizational structure, and that's what we used. And there were some things that we were not going to do. And one of the things I said we're not going to march against BET. Yeah. We will not be doing it. Not for a photo op, not for anybody's promotional opportunity. We're going to talk to them with respect because once you start marching on something and using the foundation of Black civil rights movement, you better be right.
Yeah. I'm smiling right now, Sheryl, in the audience when you look back at this video on YouTube is because my Neo, Jason just celebrated a marquee anniversary, and we were all smoking cigars. It was me, Jason, and Aaron, and Aaron's from another chapter.
Yes.
And so Aaron was asking Jason, what was it like having me as a big brother?
Really?
And so Jason was laughing, and so we started talking about how I really instilled in his Neo line and everyone that came after while I was still there, the importance of Robert's Rule of Order, right? And how I forced them to learn, not forced, but how I made sure that they learned parliamentary and then Robert's Rule of Order for importance of organizations. The fact that you have brought that up.
Took classes. When I was chairman of the board, I took parliamentary procedure class. I would get up in the morning because I wasn't on TV at that time. So I would get up in the morning and go and take the classes. You got to study to show yourself approved. That's what the Bible says. But really, you can take that into churches. You can take that into home associations. You can take it into a city council. You have to know certain things to be prepared for what's going to come against you. What do people perish from? Lack of knowledge. So and we're scholarly organizations. So really, we got to get back to the study of it, not just university study, but just the study of knowledge, the search for knowledge. And if it is true, because I believe it, because everybody want to wipe out history, that we really created certain knowledgeable institutions and then other people co-opted it and made it look like they created. We're not against anybody. We're not against Romans. We're not against Greeks as Greek people. Yeah. What we are is get it right. Understand where it came from and who it came from and how we had to work together for the greater good. Yeah. We were traveling on seas when nobody else was. How are there pyramids in two locations? Okay. I just want to say that. And everybody want us to stay separate. But if we studied each other's origins, we will find out we have more in common. Yeah.
I love this conversation. I didn't expect to go here, but since we're here, what I'm hearing from you is that our D9 organizations need to get back more to what we were founded for.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you another question then. This is what I think about. Do you think the Black churches need to get back into what the role that they used to play during the Civil Rights era?
Absolutely. And and somebody could call into your show and correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that tax exemption was not an issue for us when the civil rights movement was being put together. I could be wrong, but once you get tax exempt status, then somebody can tell you what you can and cannot say as a tax exempt organization. But before that, remember the churches was the gathering place, and it crossed all socioeconomic backgrounds. So your pastor could tell you, we're going to vote for Kennedy, we're going to vote for Roosevelt, we're going to vote for Truman. We're going to boycott. We're going to do certain things. And everybody from the domestic to the school teacher, because you had domestic people, you had chauffeurs and all of those things, because that's what the job that was offered. You had business people, but you also had educators, because that's where all that thought was. And then once we found we couldn't get the corporate job, so we were teaching at HBCUs. So all of that combustible knowledge in a good way was all coming together. So I agree with you. Churches, I love the fact that we have mega churches, but I also love the fact that we got a good old-fashioned storefront. And if you put people together and guide the community, that's the other thing. You got to guide the community. And then in the church, we have to understand that church leaders are fallible people, human beings doing human things. If you put something before God, you will always fail. You can't put Greekdom before God.
Okay. Which is a big misconception.
Absolutely. Say it.
With everyone who's denouncing.
Yes.
Right? There is this idea that we're serving a deity or serving another God.
That's right.
It's completely contrary. If anything, it is more of a reverence and an observation.
That's right.
If you look at all of our constitutions, there is, in some form of fashion, God is in there.
Absolutely. It may be, we may have Judeo-Christian principles, but that doesn't mean you can't be a Muslim or Jehovah's Witness or anything else. You can't be a Catholic or something, or you can't be atheist or agnostic. And for me, I don't pray to the God of Zeta. I pray to God as a Zeta. But I also know what I could and could not do. When I was getting ready to join, I went to my father as the head of the household. I went to my father and I said, what do you think? And my father went, well, if daddy had gone to college, because daddy could have been a college man. I didn't even know my father had played football until I saw some pictures. But then I wondered, well, no wonder I'm attracted to athletes. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I was like, oh my goodness. And my dad said, it's a good thing for you to do, and it allows you to get out and meet people. And then to become, to get on the board as graduate member at large at that time, that was the office. And then to go on and become chairman of the board, and then to become 23rd international president. It shaped my life. It made me a better business person. It made me more thoughtful in my decisions. It it prepared me for a lot of things. So when people are denouncing, I understand if that's where your walk is leading you or your pastor is telling you, yes and no, because I didn't put this before God.
Yeah, but interesting enough, so many pastors are in our D9 organization.
That's absolutely.
Which kind of blows me away. Which kind of makes me think about sometimes the way that religion is structured.
Yes.
Right? There is a certain dogma to it, and
Yes.
some of it is also too interpretive, right?
Absolutely.
Not everything is according to the letter of the law or the spirit of the law being of the Holy Bible, right?
Well, I do
And so,
believe that people took out and rearranged the Bible to their need, and I believe when the Lord come back, He will tell us, I said this, but I didn't say this,
Yeah.
or I mean, you have your beliefs, you have things that you'd agree with and you don't agree with. But if the greatest commandment is love thy neighbor as you love yourself, then what are we doing? But that doesn't mean I agree with all of your lifestyle. If you are abusive, if you are a thief, or you're just not good to the lowest of those amongst us, then I can't follow you. But also, I need to give you grace and forgiveness because I want to be afforded grace and forgiveness. And then if we look at even our politicians, you notice that there's one party hollering, we are the Christian and we want to do what's right, and the Bible say this, but then how you following this? Or how you cutting out? You cutting out veteran stuff, you cutting out this, and then you letting a dude do it that got more money, but you ain't saved nothing, and you not being upfront. And then if you so spiritual, where's the courage to stand up for what's wrong? And then on the other side, you can't always want us to be so poor and so raggedy so you can lead us.
I think it's the idea that agape love has been removed from
Absolutely.
the conversation.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Is the agape love is one of the biggest commandments of them all that supersedes, right?
That's right.
Having that love of God. And so I often think about that.
That's right.
And then I think about the ways that if you look at going back to D9, you have some pastors who are in and some pastors who are out.
Right.
But then outside of the D9, you have some pastors I've seen have a drink or two, and then you have some pastors that think that drinking is his ultimate sin, right?
That's
right.
right.
So that's what I mean by
Can't play cards.
Can't play cards.
Women can't wear pants.
Can't wear makeup.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember going and get my pants split up and turned into skirts. Apostolic Pentecostal.
Oh, you're apostolic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I would go around and visit my relatives for the summer.
Yeah.
And you going to church with them, you got to do what they say.
Yep.
But I guess my feeling is, but does that extend itself? And I hope I can mention this for people who don't like Donald Trump, right?
You mention whatever you want to mention here.
Okay, good. Because I don't want nobody calling in and going, because you know how they doing now. You know how they doing now. Next thing you know, is no more SiriusXM. You be like, wait, who did that? You know what I'm saying?
Freedom of speech here. You could say,
okay, good.
We don't moderate content.
Then
see what I did there?
That's right. Could we pray for Trump and pull him to the side and go, look, man, you got elected twice. You could be a great leader if you just stop doing this right here. You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of us, I'm a registered Republican, but I can't go along with this because this is not the party I recognize. And I need Republicans to get a backbone. You notice that he didn't change his way on these tariffs until the dude from JP Morgan said, look here, it's a recession. And then he went, well, maybe I need to pull it back. But why are you so against the Chinese? And why are you against our allies? And who's going to pull you to the side and go, look, man, you can be a great president. If you can do what you're doing in a negative sense, do it in a positive sense. And then can we go into the Democratic Party and go, you need to face why you lost. You need to face why you lost. We didn't connect to that. All black men did not vote against Kamala, but they got enough of them that made it look like that. You know, how much did you get, dude? How many pieces of silver did you get to get up and betray? You know what I'm saying? And now it's not just us. What about all the women who didn't vote for Hillary and then didn't vote for Kamala? And now you're looking crazy right now because when you're talking true DEI, it's not us. Yeah. We didn't even ask for it. We want to be treated fairly. We didn't want to be treated special. We want to be fair. And that's why we need to be in all political parties.
Yeah. But even you think about like this anti-DEI thing is even outside of politics. I actually saw the anti-DEI happening before the election even started.
Yes.
That I started seeing this anti-DEI and really this misunderstanding of what DEI is and really what affirmative action is.
That's right.
And then when you
Arthur Fletcher, black Republican, was the one that encouraged Nixon to do affirmative action. See, we may start something for a noble meaning and then someone else co-opts it. Yeah. Or you go too far with something and you go, well, I can't take that journey with you. You've gone too far in this. I can't go with you on that. But here's the problem. This is why my tour is called the Mix and Mingle tour. It's not just mix and mingling for heterosexual relationships. It's mix and mingling so we can go back to talking to each other as Americans and go, this is what I agree with, this is what I don't agree with. Because you notice they're not questioning their movements and their judgments until white town hall meetings go, we ain't doing this. If we had got together and said no, they were like, well, whatever, we don't have your vote anyway, and you're only 13% of the population.
I think it goes to what you said earlier in the conversation about knowledge. And I think a lot of people just don't have the knowledge of what affirmative action is, right?
True.
There is this understanding, and somehow the messaging got, to use your word, I love how you keep using the word co-opted. There was somehow the messaging got co-opted that affirmative action doesn't mean qualified.
That's right.
Only thing affirmative action and DEI programs did was just to break up the unconscious biases that existed in corporations. And I always talk about the example of sometimes people in HR, right, is majority white. Ooh. And so somebody the HR represents, they have a job available. It's just a natural thing to say, hey, do a reach out. Do you know anyone in your network who may want to apply for this account manager job, right?
That's right.
And so most of their networks are probably majority white. Like you look at mine, most of my network would be majority black.
That's
and
right.
so that's what you're sending the email out to. And then they send it out to their group of friends.
Yes.
And then that's how this group of applicants get brought to the forefront. That doesn't mean it's racist at all.
That's right.
And so what that
that's
does
your
is
selection
just
pool.
Unconscious biases.
That's right.
And so these programs and policies are put in place to disrupt that unconscious biases, to make you work harder, to then reach out to other candidates who will be qualified for a shot to come then into the interview and then to be interviewed.
But they flip it on you like we are doing something against them, as opposed to we're giving you additional knowledge. Perception might be black people are hostile. No, we're passionate, right? So then if you're in HR and you have a disagreement and it's different races of people, right, then you're the hostile black guy and I felt threatened. Hold on, you're the most lovable, saintly driven man I've talked to. Yeah. That dude ain't hostile. If you don't have a benefactor, if you don't have somebody going to step up and go, no, not this dude, we're not railroading today. But people need to accept, if there was a nonstop barrage of something negative, then when they get in power, they want to make sure that never happens again. You see? And that's what it feels like. And to me, I want America to understand, if we all work together, we can truly make the country better. We can make it stronger. You cannot do it without me. And if you could do it without me, you should have.
Have you thought about running for an office? I'm curious.
When I first did radio, I was doing radio in Grand Prairie, Texas, decades ago at KRNB, and I was going to the Republican meetings, and they were talking to me about running for Congress, and I said, but I don't really live here. I live in California. I don't know if I would make a good politician. And living in California, you have to go up through the central committees to do things, and sometimes sometimes our own people are the obstacle if you're not being something they think you should be, or controlled, or something. Because I think I'm a conservative militant. I'm back when.
Explain that a little bit more.
When you're talking about Arthur Fletcher, when you're talking about Senator Edward Brooks, when you're talking about the old school, the Jackie Robinson Republicans, the Dr. King type Republicans, I'm more of that, but I'm still militant enough to know I can't take my skin off. So if you think I'm this strong black woman and that's a threat to you, then you'll always be out to get me. And I feel like Ronald Reagan, I paid for this microphone, and I agree with Ronald Reagan. But if you notice something odd, they even going against Ronald Reagan. It is now, it's no longer political servant. It's more punditry. People are doing things to write books. People are doing things. They're not doing things to serve the people.
As Kendrick says, somebody better turn your TV off.
That's it. That's right.
Now you're speaking too much truth now.
Absolutely. And to me, if I was going to
I think about that often in the sense of in the commentary.
What could I run for?
Yeah.
What would you want me to run for?
No, I'm not saying you should.
No, think about it. I want to hear this.
No, I'm just curious because you have such a really well thought out Constitution on how you see social issues and social constructs. Yeah. And usually people who have such a well thought out social construct and Constitution and have a platform, they generally tend to want to run for an office. And so I was just asking if you had
I would really like
thinking about the way you came up in the ranks of Zeta, the Robert's Rule of Order.
Yes.
There seems to be some things that are tracking, as they would say.
Well, would you think that I wouldn't mind talking to our civil rights organization, our Black Greek letter organizations, and everybody coming together and going, what are the goals? Like one of the things that we're doing, we're gathering together promoters to make sure that we have a promotion for our tours, that especially for Black female comics. We seem to have disappeared somewhere. We're not getting the movies. We're not getting the sitcoms. We don't even have the radio shows. We may be part of, but we're not We're not writing the books. We're not out there. So how do we work? How do we pay our bills? Then second to that, how do we pay for the promotion of something so that we can be successful and people see that you want to work with us? Then beyond that, take those same businessmen, take those athletes, take all of the people that have money. Let's go buy up vacant property in other areas and change communities. And then instead of you saying, I'm waiting for somebody to put a hospital in the neighborhood, put a small clinic in the neighborhood. Put some healthy food up against the fried chicken, because I love fried chicken. I love fried pork chop. I love all the things bad for me. But let's have some walking trails and some healthiness. And let's bring up that property value. Let's put men and women to work so we can refurbish some of these homes. Now, that may sound political, but could I do better work as an entrepreneur?
It's a question.
Than I could be as a politician.
I remember Oprah said that. I'll never forget this interview she did with Larry King, and it was years ago, and it's always stood out to me. And Larry King asked her that same question. You know, would you ever consider running for office? And ironically, I just asked you the same question. It's kind of funny. I think maybe that's why it's in my subconscious. And she says, no, Larry. And she says, why would I? And she said that I have much more influence on my platform than I would if I was to be a senator, where I will only have jurisdiction over certain districts, right? And that's always stood out to me in terms of like, how do people choose to use their platform, right? Do they choose to use it to still advocate for causes without having to be an elected official? Or do they choose to go into elected office and to do that?
And sometimes I think there's a rebellion against, they threw a great DNC convention, right? I was there. But also that's where the work started. You can have a great party, but then people rebel against that party that you threw. Look at the other side. They didn't have great entertainers, right? But they had the people that people listened to in that circle. But then if you say, well, I can do more as an entrepreneur, well, maybe you've succeeded in entrepreneurism where you can fund your own campaign, and maybe you should run because you have the skill. What's the baby name? Jasmine Crockett. Is that?
Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, that girl is fire. She's exactly where she needs to be. Now we need her in the Senate, on the Senate side as well. We have to build a coalition of the money, because what Elon Musk has is money. And he has the platform. Is he using it well? Anytime your baby come in, and these are some of the things that I talk about a little bit at the top of the show, because I'm the host and the headliner of the show with Mike Washington and Kyle Irby. But I talk about it a little bit because I think people are now exhausted with the political discussion. They're exhausted. They want a respite, but I got to give you a little bit. But if you can use that money and power like Elon Musk is using, and baby walk in and ask Trump, why are you sitting at my daddy's desk? Okay, that should let you know what's really going on. If you're using your money and your power to help the least amongst, I think God will bless you for even more success.
Sure, I can talk to you all day.
Oh, it's time for me to go?
Yeah.
First, you got to find me a husband. Stop right before we go anywhere. Can you find me a husband? Next time I come back, I'm going to come back and we're going to be dating.
I got you. On
your show.
I got you.
Sigmas are my brothers.
Yeah.
But I've dated all of Greekdom.
I got you.
And I like athletes. And I like a little butterscotch.
Yeah.
I like a baby DeVos now. I like a baby DeVos.
That is hilarious.
And I go from 35 to 95. Y'all saw me on Club Shay Shay.
Okay, so we know our parameters.
Yes.
We got the parameters. We have the things
and
identified.
And you can be broke. You can work at a gas station.
Yeah.
I'm getting free gas and honey buns and Doritos.
I heard you say that as long as you have a paycheck coming in every Friday.
That's right. Anything you want to ask me for, I go.
Yeah.
Anything you want to. When can I come back? Because we need to talk more politics.
We do. You can come back anytime.
Okay, and then I want you to train these people that just because you're on Meet the Press and Face the Nation and all these different shows and Abby Film, everything, just because you get loud don't mean you right.
Oh, turn her TV off. Turn TV off.
Don't they get loud? Loud and disrespectful.
Y'all, turn the TV off. Sure, you better turn the TV off. As Kendrick says. Jordan, pull that up, I think, on that one. Audience, she's actually here to promote her comedy tour.
But
Mix
we end up
Mingle.
talking because we got brains.
It's a conversation.
That's
I never do interviews. I only do conversations here at the Mike Muse Show.
Right.
Make sure you find her in a city coming near you, and she is a vibe. And she does these brunch parties also too, in addition to the comedy tour. So eat good and laugh good. Until next time.
I love
you. You're amazing. I love you. I see you
soon.
Next time, audience. Peace.